All right, and with that, we will start our special session of today. I am really happy to introduce our last speaker, the speaker of a special session on gender. She's Elena Gómez-Díaz. Elena is a researcher at the Institute of Biomedecina and Parasitology in Barcelona, in Granada, in Spain. And she works in malaria, but in addition, she has been really active fighting for gender balance, particularly for giving visibility to women in science and for denouncing and disentangling the causes of bias in gender issues in academia. So welcome, Elena. Thank you so much for being here today, and feel free to share your screen when you are ready.
Yes, thank you very much, Rosa and Jesus, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to participate. So I'm going to try to, okay, here. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, but we can see your comments too.
Yeah. Okay, now, right?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, good afternoon. So today I'm going to talk a bit about my vision and my experience about gender equality and diversity in science. This presentation, I tried to make it short. It's based on an article that we recently published in Trends in Parasitology about guidelines that can be easily applied to labs and to research institutions in order to arrive to that situation in which the environment is more equal and more diverse. So I hope that they will be useful for some people, and maybe some are obvious, but our experience is that in most cases they are not the rule. So let's create a bit of awareness about it. So as you know, we can all imagine a world in which every person has the same opportunities to enter and to contribute and to progress in the scientific career. But this is not actually the case in most cases, and despite gender equality is a fundamental human right, in science there is a lot of bias and a lot of inequality. Actually, as an average in the world, only 30% of the researchers are women. This is despite of the enormous contribution that we women do for the progress of science. So how we can change that? We are all agreed that for this we need and this is something that you already probably know, that is the leaky pipeline. So not only there is an underrepresentation of women, but also this gap and this bias is higher the more we progress in the scientific career. And so there is an important need for promoting and keeping these women in science in senior positions in academia and in research. So at the end, we live in a world in which there are fewer women in decision-making committees, fewer women acting as reviewers, authors, in the media, or even in Wikipedia pages. No, so it's about time to change that situation. And we know that there have been a lot of initiatives like that are called communities of practice that are being implemented all over Europe and all over the world. Some well known here in Europe are the Juring Roles Initiative or the Libra Initiative that want to create this bottom-up change, so changing institutions in order to change that situation of gender equality in science. But apart of that, they're having other initiatives like ours, in which we tried also to create that sense of communities in women that share interest and expertise in a particular field. In our case, that was the idea of women in malaria, just to visualize the women that contribute to malaria research, and also to put them in context so they can support each other, communicate, and share any resource or any ideas to promote, I mean, to contribute and to promote to this field. So having said that, over the last year, we have been working on, okay, what else we can do at the day life basis to change the system, to change the way women, the environment that women face on the daily basis. And this was the inspiration of this work that ended up in a series of guidelines, in a easy 10 measures to implement in our labs that anyone can do, and I think that can contribute significantly to this change. So the first important thing that is very it can be very effective is the way we advertise jobs. So we all know this is something that maybe is obvious, but if you take a job announcement and analyze it in terms of gender, whether it is gender neutral or not, I'm sure that the majority of texts are not neutral at all. Because the first reason is because we tend to use a lot of adjectives that in science, most of them are male related. For example, over competitive or competition, very competitive person, brilliant person, a person that is very outstanding. For example, these kind of adjectives are adjectives that are usually used to define more male characteristics. So there are different tools to correct our text. This one is gender decoder, is a very good one. And what I was saying is that try to not to put too many qualificatives to the job that you are advertising. Instead of that, give as much details as possible. So what is this job about, and what specifically you need of that person? Okay. This is an example of a job advertisement that is, from my point of view, not recommended at all. Imagine that instead of putting publicly that job advertised, you send that ad to your colleagues, and on top of that, you tell them that please forward you any candidate that they consider outstanding. This is clearly biasing the selection of candidates towards those that have more relationships, more influence, and also are seen by others as outstanding. So here we have a big potential to bias the process. I would, instead of that, I would recommend, as I say before, to explain what is the project or the job about, what we will value, so you don't exclude anyone. You just say that you are interested in different things, and then you will value those different things, and also explain very well which are going to be the job conditions, because that will help the person to see whether they can contribute or not to the job. Okay, so these advices apply also not only for job advertisements but also for job interviews. In a job interview, you don't you don't have to prejudice somebody because of her or his own gender. It's obvious that, but we tend to do it. There are different resources that have been made available for the last years. This one is one that was prepared by the Libra initiative and is a handbook for recruitment. So I recommend very strongly to use these type of resources if you are preparing an interview, because it is going to be it's going to be very useful to be trained in that in order not to bias your interview. Another very important thing in our scientific practice is writing recommendation letters. We are often asked every month, every week, sometimes some people every day, to write recommendation letters for your students or your colleagues and so on. It is very, very important that job, because for that person, that recommendation letter can determine her or his future. So please spend the time to do it properly and to think that what you are going to put in that letter is going to determine the future of that person. Having said that, a good way to write a recommendation letter, and this is based on a document that the Commission of Status of Women of the University of Arizona prepared, is to focus on the facts. So instead of again using adjectives to classify a person, just explain what that person has achieved, which has been their accomplishments, and also be honest and try to give as much detail as possible, so it is clear and transparent what that person has been contributing in the past. There are different tools that can help you to check whether the language is neutral or not, like the gender bias calculator. Another very important activity in our labs and in our job as a scientist is organizing meetings or participating in meetings. As you know, and it is something that is more and more often common, is that we are being aware about how biased conferences or meetings were before, and now the more and more we see that these meetings and these conferences and associations are are being more aware of this problem. So to avoid the manels, so those committees that are exclusively confirmed by men, or conference in which all the keynote speakers are men, it is important to think with those gender lens that I was referring to the beginning. In the case of the lab or the institute, it is important that you don't put the meetings at a time that you know that is going to create a conflict, for example, for parents at 8 in the morning, or a meeting or a journal club in the Saturdays, because you want to check how motivated that the person that works with you. You don't need to do that because you are excluding people. And also, in the case of the meetings, you can also try to rotate the word. So inviting everyone to participate, because we are not equal. We are not all equal, and there will be some people that will be more prone to participate than others. So a way to promote this plural, this diverse participation, it is good to rotate the word, and try also to avoid hierarchy. So that is not always you that lead the meetings, or that talk all the time, but give a space and listen to members of your lab. In the case of conferences, I was already mentioning this problem of the manels. there are different guidelines and different recommendations that have been published to improve that, to improve the way conferences and meetings are organized. And now the more and more they are, for example, offering childcare facilities or special grants for parents, so they can pay a babysitter or whatever in order to be able to attend. Also with the pandemics, I think that there will be a change in the way conferences are organized, so there will be more virtual meetings, and also maybe some of the conferences are present, some of the talks are in person, presential, but there are others that can be combined with virtual talks. So I think that this will be clearly, there is a way for change clearly here. And also the fact that in conferences, for example, there are specific activities, social activities for parents, because you know that now everything that is social in conferences is alcohol or parties or whatever, and this is not family friendly, okay? So I think that there is more a movement to make conferences and meeting more inclusive. There is another problem in science, that is the unconscious bias. The unconscious bias is something that is everywhere, and we have to accept it naturally, because the unconscious bias is an evolutionary mechanism that we have in order to make decisions fast. But these fast decisions are not necessarily good decisions, or decisions based on knowledge or on a good rationale, okay? And this is what happened, that we tend to promote and help those that look like us. Meaning that if you are a group of white men, you will tend to support or to be in agreement with those that are like you, like white men, and so on. So the problem is that if there is a bias, if there is underrepresentation in one of the groups, then this unconscious bias will automatically promote more unconscious bias, and so on. This is something that is explained here.
The unconscious mind is amazing. It can process vastly more information than our conscious mind by using shortcuts based on our background, cultural environment.
We cannot see the video, Elena.
To make almost instantaneous decisions about everything around us. The snag is, it's wrong quite a lot of the time.
Well, I don't know if Rosa told me that you were not listening.
We cannot see the video. We were listening to it, but was there supposed to be a video?
Yes, maybe it was a mistake.
That's okay.
Anyway, so the summary was what I just said, that it's not, we tend to make that decisions just without thinking, just fast, and they are wrong most of the times, okay? So, okay. So the more and more the panels that review, for example, grants or contracts for people like Ramón y Cajal or other type of contracts, international contracts, they recommend to be trained in this, in how to recognize and counterbalance this unconscious bias. For example, this one that I was trying to share is one of the Royal Society that we as an evaluator of the European Commission, you get, and you have to be trained on that in order to be able to evaluate for the EU. And at the end, the summary is that you should think twice about the decision, about the evaluation that you are doing. You have to be prepared to reconsider your decision, and also question it based on whether you have had possible stereotypes, bias stereotypes in your decision, and also try to share your decision with others referees in order to see whether there is an agreement or not. Okay. So this is very good. That is not always the case in many panels, in which there is no this face-to-face discussion on the profiles of the candidates or the applications of different candidates. And I think that this is very good in order to counterbalance this possible unconscious bias. Another important activity that I think that is very useful for at different levels of the scientific careers is to have a group that is in the similar position in the scientific career, and with whom you can share and explain and listen the experiences and the problems of other people that is in the same situation as you, or belongs to the same group as you. In my case, for example, I'm a junior PI and a woman, so I can somehow this peer mentoring allows you to share this experience and these problems with other junior PIs that are women as well. This is super helpful because I think that one of the problems of women in science also is the fact that is the feeling that you are alone, that somehow you are isolated and you are underrepresented, and sometimes this feeling also can promote that you abandon or that you give up because you feel that you are not going to be able to overcome these difficulties or these barriers, right? So this is a very recommended activity. Another thing that you can do in your lab, if you are a PI, is or a director of an institute, is to promote leadership, to promote training and leadership. I always say that we don't start science knowing everything. We have to keep training, keep learning all the way, during all our career as a researcher, and also to try to transfer that feeling or that mood to people that start in your lab, that they have to continue training and to expand those complementary skills. And leadership is one of them. It's extremely important to get trained in leadership. And in the case of women, that can also help to motivate women to be PIs, to be leaders, if they feel that they have appropriately been trained, that they have the resources and that they have the knowledge. So I strongly recommend that. Then another important thing in the lab is that you treat every person equally. I know that this seems obvious, but as I said before, with unconscious bias, we tend to favor those that look or that have the same character as we have. So it is very important that you consciously and actively try to have your resources and your mindsets to apply the same. I mean, not to favor anyone, but try to treat different people the same way, despite they have different characters. Okay, this is very difficult. I think that this is very difficult, but it is important that we spend time and consciously we work on that. Another huge problem in science, you all know, is that sexual harassment. It seems that also it should be something that we should have control and overcome, and that should have been solved already, but it's not. In part because we tolerate a lot of attitudes that maybe they are not at the tip of the iceberg, maybe they are not sexual harassment or violence against women, but they promote this environment that can lead to this type of behaviors. So it is very important that the labs and institutions work very hard in order to identify those behaviors and to create an environment that that does not favor this important problem. For example, having equality and diversity commissions, having people to which anyone that experiences this kind of events can ask and can get somebody to communicate and to say what happened. So it is very important that there are the procedures and the mechanisms in order to avoid this. And the last rule is that is very simple rule. If you want, if you want something, if it is very important to show to others. I mean, to give example, right? So one way of achieving also gender equality is to participate actively in all the activities that are organized and that are done towards that aim. For example, in the different days that celebrate LGTBA, or the 11th February, the day of the International Day of Women and so on. So it is also important to promote and to participate in committees in your research centers and institutions. And this is not only for women, but it's also for men. And be part of these communities of practice in your research field, for example, no? that they help to create that sense that we are not alone, that there are many women out there, and that we are all fighting in the same direction. And my final message would be that the fight for equality is not a fight of women. Is a fight that women and men should be both in the same ship, because the gains that we will get will be beneficial for both. I'm sure that anyone here can agree with me that if we arrive to a situation in which there is work-life balance, that will help and benefit the two parents, and also that fathers want to share the responsibility of children with their partners, right? So I think that any measure that goes in favor to gender equality in science will favor as well men, or the same way men and women. So it is very important that we all fight in the same direction. And I think that with that, only just to remember that if you want to know more or to have access to the resources that I just mentioned, you have these two articles here, one in Spanish and one in English. And just to finish again saying thank you to Rosa and Jesus. And I will be happy to take questions if there is any. Thank you very much.
Actually, thanks to you, Elena, for giving such an amazing and enlightening talk. You stirred up a lot of heated debate and conversations. I will start right now because we have many questions. The first one by Neus Font. Do you have any tips to engage the members of an institute direction board to be committed with diversity issues?
Yeah, this is very difficult. Yeah, I mean, it is very important that the direction of the institute is aligned with equality in order to arrive to some point. I mean, the commission itself cannot achieve any goal without the direction being engaged. I think that this is very important. So what is true that you cannot start with thinking that you are going to achieve everything right away, right? I think that it's important that you see this fight for equality in your institute as a mid long-term goal, and then you start doing small steps. Once that these small steps are getting, I mean, you are succeeding, this will create more motivation And the Institute will see that, wow, yes, we are growing we are achieving, we'll make people to get more motivated and more passionate about it. But I think that it's step by step. So somehow you have to be intelligent and gain the attention and gain the day-by-day battle, right? I would put a lot of short-term goals and then fighting one by one towards a more mid-term or later, because otherwise people can get easily like, if you start by the most difficult goal, then then maybe this is not going to help.
Thank you very much, Elena. Now a good one. By Fabia Petean, sorry. How could we deal with man-interrupting and mansplaining in conference or meetings without sounding rude?
But like an organizers or a speaker? Well,
I guess maybe I don't know. Maybe speakers or someone.
Yeah, I mean, as an organizer, I think that it is important that the organizer or the persons that manage the sessions, I forgot the name. They must be aware about that. Okay, so it is important that the conference have an environment that promotes, that fights against, for example, having like you have a special session on diversity or inclusion, or a talk on that, or that there is a conference that have a workshop. This already gives a subliminary message that for that conference, this is important. And I think that this somehow will change minds of people little by little. Okay, so already the conference organizers have an important role there to set which are the rules. And then as a speaker, if you are in a situation in which you have a rude commentary, I think that you have to be brave and you have to denounce it. You have to say, sorry, but I'm not going to answer this question because I think that this commentary is rude. And I think that because the more and more there is more awareness, you will be supported by others. Okay, so I think that this is the way. This is why it's so important, these communities of practice. For example, my experience is that now in malaria, we have been in the last 3 conferences of malaria that have been organized as Women in Malaria. Somehow this sense of community protects you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You are not alone. There are others. You know others like you, and they are there to support you. No? So I think that is very important.
Thanks. Next question by Claudia Maturana. There were several media releases that showed how COVID has impacted women's production in science. How can we manage this situation? Can we apply some kind of rules in how women are measured in science?
Well, that's a key point. Of course, to achieve gender equality, science needs a reform, starting by what we value, what is success. This has to be reformulated in order to find that situation in which science is a less hostile environment for women, right? But we have a long way to achieve that. So I think that there are other things that can be done less ambitious, but can start to work. Maybe, for example, it is important that we increase the representation of women in the different research institutions. For example, now, we cannot keep being with women being 20% of the research positions in the CSIC or the university. I'm talking about Spain, because this is not, this is an overload of work for the women that are there, and somehow there are barriers that we are not addressing. So we have to change that. But we have to change that on those actions that are going to be effective. For example, there is no point to increase the number of PhD grants for women, because already the number of women and men at the level of the doctorate is very similar. However, it is very important that we incorporate measures that make that women at the postdoc level don't abandon science, right? So I think that it is very important that we direct the efforts towards those critical moments in the scientific career of women that make them to abandon. And this, I think, that is work-life balance, and also more stability for the scientific career. There are many other things, but I think that these two are quite important.
Okay. So we have two more questions. We're kind of ahead of time, but I would like to ask you and maybe a short reply. Rocío is saying, I'm concerned that most men are going to continue going presently to congresses and meetings, and only women are going to be using the virtual option. What do you think about that possibility?
Well, I think that there is already a gain, in the sense that it's not ideal, but before the problem is that there was not a virtual option and then women were not there, okay? So if in the family nucleus, there is still that that difference, that inequality, well, that way, at least we will give the possibility to women to participate. And and the other thing is that I think that as a society, and I talk this general because I think that is a problem of the society, we have to go towards co-responsibility. And I think that this is education, and this will affect science and many other fields. But in science also, as a women, as a men, we have to fight for those co-responsibility. And well, I don't know if I answered the question, but this is more or less.
So the last question, and we are going to the concluding remarks from Carla Garcia, is asking, I feel that there is a lack of representation or visibility of female leaders, or this representation doesn't reach PhD students. And sometimes we abandon science under the assumption that there is not another way to do things. I guess that this is like an open.
Yes, I mean, it's clear that the lack of role models in science is a problem. Is a problem also. I mean, the thing is that if you see very few women at the top, then you think that you are not going to be able to arrive to the top. That's in simple words said. This is why these peer mentoring activities are very important, because that creates like, okay, I'm not alone. There are others like me, and they face the same problems. And I will succeed, and I will make it, right? So this is, and also at the higher level, the community, as I say, if you are part of a community and then you share those feelings, you share those experiences, then that help you to overcome that imposter syndrome thing. So I think that's the way, communities and peer mentoring activities.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Elena. There is still one pending question, but I am sure that you will have time to reply, written reply. Okay? Thank you very much for your fantastic talk.
Thank you, Elena.